This is my favorite whoopie pie recipe because it's soft and fluffy, yet packed with tons of flavor, and it's really easy to make. It's got warm chai spices like cinnamon, cardamom, cloves, and even a dash of black pepper, and it has an amazing mascarpone whipped cream filling. Want to give it a try? Okay, but seriously, it's coming up next on the Sugar Geek Show. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is bring all of our ingredients to room temperature. For butter, I just nuke it in the microwave for about 15 to 20 seconds until I can press my finger into the surface and it leaves an indent, but the butter is still basically holding its shape. For eggs, I just place them in a bowl of hot water, still in their shells, for about 5 minutes, and that warms them up really quickly. You always want to make sure your ingredients are room temperature so that they emulsify and create a really good texture in your final baked good. So now we're going to go ahead and make our chai spice mix. In a small bowl, add your cinnamon, ground ginger, cardamom, cloves, nutmeg, allspice, and pepper. Pepper is actually optional, but trust me, it just adds a little kick of flavor that tastes so good. You can also use white pepper if that's what you got. Mix that all together and set it aside. Then in a large bowl, we're going to add our flour, our salt, our baking powder, and then set that aside. Then in the bowl of our stand mixer, go ahead and add your room temperature butter and your brown sugar. Add the paddle attachment and cream those two together on medium-high until it's nice and fluffy. This is going to take about 2 to 3 minutes with a stand mixer, or a little bit longer if you're using a hand mixer. Don't forget to scrape that bowl and really make sure it's all mixed together really well. This creaming process is going to give our whoopie pies that really nice lift and beautiful soft texture. If your butter is too cold, this is where you're going to notice that the butter and the sugar are just not getting light and fluffy. Don't worry, just keep going, and eventually the butter will warm up and it will start getting lighter and fluffier. Once it's light and fluffy like this, we're going to start adding in our room temperature eggs one at a time. Make sure to let the first egg combine fully before adding in your second egg. Adding in your eggs slowly like this is basically creating an emulsion. If you add all of the eggs at once, they're not going to mix in very well, and you're going to end up with something that looks kind of like butter inside of bits of egg. Go ahead and add in your vanilla, and then we're going to start adding in our dry mixture and alternate with the milk mixture until everything is combined. We alternate the dry and the wet so that the batter gets evenly incorporated between the flour and the liquids. Everything's about creating a nice emulsion. Bonus, you can also take out 3 ounces of the flour, replace it with 3 ounces of cocoa powder, and now you've got chocolate whoopie pies. Oh yeah! Or you could completely leave out all of the chai spices and just double up the vanilla, and you've got vanilla whoopie pies. The flavor options are really endless. Alright, so now we're going to add in our chai spice mix. You can add more if you like it extra spicy. We're going to mix it on low until it's just combined. You really don't want to overmix at this point because you will just overdevelop the gluten and you'll start getting big holes running through your cake. So I'm just going to finish this off by hand and make sure there's no flour left in there and all of the spices are mixed in. I'm going to use a small cookie scoop for this. It's about a tablespoon. You could also make large chai whoopie pies if you wanted to, using 2 tablespoon scoops, or honestly, you could just measure them with your heart. You can make them smaller or bigger. It just depends on what you like. We're going to scoop the batter, clean off the edge on the side of the bowl to make it flat, and then just drop that right onto the cookie sheet. This is a 9 by 13 inch pan lined with parchment paper, or you could use a silicone baking mat. You can fit about 12 cookies on here. Now we're going to bake our whoopie pies at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 9 minutes. When the cookie is puffy and bounces back when you lightly touch the top, it's done. The bottom are going to be slightly golden brown. That's totally normal and delicious. If you're making bigger whoopie pies, make sure you bake them for a couple extra minutes just because of the size difference. Now we're going to let these cool down completely before we add in our whipped cream filling. Speaking of whipped cream, let's go ahead and make our mascarpone whipped cream filling. Don't make this until you're ready to fill your whoopie pies because it starts to set up pretty quickly. Start off by adding the heavy whipping cream and powdered sugar to the bowl of your stand mixer. Attach your whisk, and we're going to whip it on high until we reach moist peaks. Basically, that just means that we're going to just start seeing some lines forming on the surface like this, but they're not quite at like stiff peaks that hold their shape. Then we're going to go ahead and add in the mascarpone cheese. You don't want this to be too warm or it's going to be like really loose and runny. So like you can take it out of the fridge. It doesn't have to be super cold, but you don't want it to get too warm. We're going to add that in and whip on medium-high until we reach medium peaks. All right, so now we're just gonna grab 2 whoopie pies that are basically the same size, fill one up with some filling, sandwich them together, and that's it. Delicious, so good. Because the filling is a whipped cream dairy-based product, you're definitely gonna wanna keep these whoopie pies in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to like 3 to 5 days. Otherwise they're gonna start drying out a bit. Ours never last that long, so they're usually gone pretty quickly. Or you can actually freeze these cookies for up to 6 months, and then you have basically a chai whoopie pie ice cream sandwich, also delicious. So that's how you make your own chai whoopie pies, you guys. These are so fluffy, so full of flavor, and are one of my favorite wintertime treats. Be sure to check out some of my other cookie recipes, share your pictures on my Facebook and Instagram pages, and don't forget to tag Sugar Geek Show so I can see them. I'm Liz Merrick, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!